or something. Keep lifting
Oh
each other
yeah,
up.
yeah. How you doing in Texas? Are you in
Good.
Nacogdoches?
Yeah, I'm back in Nacogdoches. I've been here for a couple of years now. Loving it. Came back to take care of my family. Um, my mom passed away, all that kind of stuff. So
I hear that. Yeah.
it's definitely been an experience, but I'm,
Mm,
I'm thriving.
yeah. No, of course. Like I think everyone no, like life doesn't go like as planned. I was reading actually a good book called The Path. It's from like Eastern Chinese philosophers, like like their teachings,
Yeah,
and yeah, man, it's like talks about how like we have all these plans, like or like travel all over the world, or like maybe go to uh you have like a vacation trip planned for like in a year, that you're
right.
looking forward to, and then like oh you like something unexpected happens, like a loved one, it's sick or something, and it teaches you how to deal with all that, like and still have hope for the future, and
Right.
make
No,
time
absolutely.
for
Well,
those things.
yeah, it's funny that you brought that up. I was actually, I just had a conversation last night when we were discussing the differentiation between, someone receiving a diagnosis versus someone dying suddenly, and a lot of it
Mhm.
has to do with kind of decompartmentalizing the person that's been diagnosed, because you're like, well, they're not going to be able to see my kids grow up, blah blah blah, this or that. But if it happens sudden, you all of a sudden have that dissonance, and you all of a sudden have to, like, you're like, no, they were supposed to live another 20 years. Like, this is
That's
family and
true.
friends. It's supposed to be part of my life. And that's
Yeah.
what's most devastating, is not being able to frame that in real time, process it correctly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. The closest person like so far that I lost that it was unexpected was my uncle. Was an uncle, and
Oh
you
wow.
know, like you have to like I got a glimpse into what it takes to like lose someone out of nowhere. So I'm like, I need to call my parents more often. you know?
Yeah, absolutely. If I could tell anyone anything, is call your mother every day and let her know that you love her,
Yeah,
that you're happy and that you're healthy
guilty of
every
that,
day.
man.
Every day, call them and let them know.
Yeah,
But
no, absolutely. And like the memento mori. That's another reason. Like um like I guess like I used to be like I told you I used to be agnostic, and then
mhm.
I switched into like I didn't switch, but I decided to convert into Islam.
Oh, that's right.
Because yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, man. So it just like things like that, like and the main thing about the religion is to like be thankful every day for like every breath, like every heartbeat, basically like showing like if you could like spend every moment of your life worshiping like the creator, you still wouldn't
Right.
be able to say thanks enough for everything that he has done. Like
Absolutely.
every single breath that you take is a blessing, and it's sometimes it leaves you in awe, just like praying and worshiping. So have you read the Bhagavad Gita? So look into Hinduism.
No, I hadn't. In all honesty, I hadn't explored many religions outside of Judaism,
Right.
and
That's right here. Yeah.
Christianity.
It's a short
Huh.
book. It's basically it's a stories, like a poem, kind of like the Odyssey,
Hmm.
about like a soldier that has his army, and he's gonna go to war or to into battle with another army, and they like he doesn't want to go, so he's like praying to the Lord, Lord Krishna, like where like why do I have to do this? Like what? Like I have family on the other side and all this.
Right.
Like he knew people on that side and he wanted to just slaughter them. So or like it wasn't worth it to him.
Yeah.
So like they go in and then it goes into there what the Lord Krishna tells the guy, and part of it is like um being being like in the moment, like don't like your karma. It talks about karma, like everything, like every day you wake up and your karma follows you.
Right.
So like basically everything that you think and say has karma. So it gets like very deep. It talks about that and the importance of being close to God, like letting go of unselfish nature or like
Right.
unselfish desires.
Well,
And
it's
the only way
interesting
to
that
do
you bring.
that is through
My bad.
meditation,
Yeah.
devotion, being close to God, things like that.
Meditation. Yeah. Well, but that also reminds me too, like, as
I don't
far
want
as
to get too religious neither, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no, this is more the idea of, the as we perceive it, karma, right? Like as a man-made construct, right? Because obviously it's supposed to be
Mhm.
especially spiritual. So if you try to make it tangible and kind of talk about it, you kind of lose some of its effect, the nuances, which you're
Right.
kind of elaborating on earlier about, just praying to some, God without recognizing how dynamic, his creationism is, his influence, his, like every breath you take kind of idea.
Mhm.
But back to karma, like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people uh, really focus on the external aspects of it because
Mhm.
it's easier to see. But I really think that's the idea of, the having two wolves inside of you, right?
Yeah.
um
Exactly.
if you want to talk about karma like on a spiritual level, I think that has a lot more to do with the individual and the idea that, like if you're taking care of yourself, you're putting good out into the world, then you're going to receive
Mhm.
that kind of same thing.
Yeah, man.
um
Totally agree.
but trying to take it to where it's, not so external and making it more personal, I definitely can understand where Hinduism's coming from in that sense. I really appreciate that insight. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the butterfly effect. I don't know if you heard any of my poetry. I mentioned that, the butterfly effect.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'll say um I don't remember what I said. So from a worm to a butterfly, respect my anatomy. And then I said, but I'm destined to fly. But I'm destined to fly. I can't rest in my vanity. Every flap of my wings disrupts the monotony. So like every flap of my wings has an effect on like nothing, nothing going
Right.
on, and I'm flapping my wings. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
happens. Like you, your voice, your movement,
Hmm.
like all that has an effect. Like your thoughts
Yep.
on whatever's going on. So yeah, if you're, that's why they preach a lot about seeing yourself as a victim or seeing yourself as a survivor or warrior, like however you see yourself, because yeah, that also has an effect on your
Yeah,
life, you know.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anytime to a certain extent you have any type of, I guess, because how you perceive the world tells more about you than it does the world, right? I mean, we're talking about the accumulation of your entire life. And
Mhm.
then, you decide to be a victim, or, you decide to let other people hurt you in this way, or that you can't rise above that kind of occasion.
Yeah.
And that type of egocentrism is just, it's nothing but debilitating. It does nothing good for you. You'll just sit there, kind of spiral out. You'll, hyper focus and kind of obsess and overanalyze things to a point to where it's unnecessary.
Mhm.
And then, a virtue signaling too, right? So you have a lot of people that, can just change their, Facebook filter to support a cause
Oh,
versus taking some
yeah.
type of action, you know what I'm saying, to go out
Mhm.
into the real world. And that's kind of like the same idea with being a victim. It's like, all right, great, you've had this experience and you have this perception, but, in the state of being a victim, are you actually contributing to this not happening in the future to people like you? Or are you trying to, come across a certain way? What's
Yeah.
actually more important?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's like mainly is like change, like we're upset about the history and the things that have happened, and it's an accumulation of things that and then you see your situation, which to a certain extent it does play a factor, everything that the history of where you grew up, your family, all
Right.
things like that. But then you get to a point where you realize that you can't like feel sorry for yourself. You have to you get to a point where you're smart enough to be like, okay, like this is, I got this far, like how far can I go, so you
Right.
start like seeing what, not consuming knowledge, so you start becoming this person like, now you're basically going above and beyond what was expected of you.
Hmm.
Like if you were a victim, if you know you or if you're another statistic,
Right.
you know, like another person that just follows the crowd, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
that. So
Well, and also like I said, I think the most important part of victimhood is like who it's serving. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like I can understand, like people experiencing trauma, people, being
right.
actually hurt, malicious intent, and of course you have to process that, but you can't let it
Mhm.
define who you are or how you perceive the world to a certain extent.
Yeah,
Because
well,
otherwise,
your anger or your perspective of life has to be based on like you can't just be upset of like things things that happened to someone else in the past. Like it got to be related to you. Like
right,
is it your fight? I mean,
right.
um,
Well,
because
and even so much to the point to where, you know, like obviously the traumatic experience varies in the emotional response and like I mean down to the point to where it can affect your physiology, right? We're talking about like your nervous system. So there are like some complications that you're going to have, or whatever, as far as
yeah,
as receiving that type of trauma or being that type of victim. But if you as a
I mean,
victim can
we have
rise
certain
can
tendencies in life, you know, in as a
yeah,
human, and
yeah,
so I wanted to say this because like from what I was saying, like we have a tendency either like to like believing in something, worshiping something, or
yeah,
like being obsessed over certain things, you know,
right,
or even like trying to like speak for someone else or trying to like blame someone else,
right.
like also like you know, it's like one of those tendencies that you can get like it become a habit that you don't take accountability for what you can do, you know, and
Patterns.
you
You're
know,
not recognizing your patterns, then that's another thing about the victim mentality is in that egocentrism, being so caught up in yourself kind of idea that you can't even like what I was going to suggest is like almost rising to the occasion to be so empathetic with the people or the person or the thing that hurts you that you understand where they're coming from. Because if you
mhm,
can understand their psychology and why they were malicious or negligent to you, or whatever it may be, you can see things for what they are and start putting things back in order. Because that's what really happens with the trauma is the chaos, and that chaos becomes pretty addicting to a certain extent. But
yeah, I mean, you know, just
that, and like I said, the virtue
no one can
signaling,
we
the
can't be David Goggins, man. We can like
mhm,
you said the beer, you know, like I learned to like not be obsessive like that neither, like
mhm,
pursuing like yeah, you get burnout. Besides that, at the end of the day, like you want to continue growing, but you don't want to be obsessed over it again. Like you don't want to just keep like, oh yeah, don't sleep.
yeah,
Like that mentality, not neither. I'm like, man, enjoy your life, you know, just
yep,
like that. That's where like relaxing, you know, like enjoying like the little things is
yeah.
important. So
That's something I'm working on. I appreciate you saying that in general, especially some recent stuff that I've been through. I guess you would say.
mhm,
I mean, it's completely you know for probably about a good 6 weeks there. I mean, I felt like my entire reality was kind of shattered. I was having so much dissonance trying to figure out, the past 10 years of my life versus the next 40.
right,
Um,
yeah,
but it got to a point to where I realized it was just, the obsession wasn't good. I wasn't meditating, I was I was doing a lot of good things, picking up a lot of good habits, but to the point to what you're saying, to where it was obsessive and you know,
yeah,
uh, that I needed to slow down and kind of listen to my body, I guess, a lot more.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely been a spiritual journey. That's to say the least.
Yeah, man, I'm glad. And it seems
Yeah,
like I don't know, it's something in the air for everyone's trying to like improve their life in a way. And
yeah.
we
Be
are
our
seeing,
age
you know,
too.
some of the age as well.
Yeah,
33, right? Are you 33?
yeah, 33, man. I mean, I'm content, to a certain extent where I am, but I thought I'd feel more like an adult by now.
Right? I still want to play soccer.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
I was just playing basketball with some with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old next door. I'm still
Yeah,
trying to.
exactly.
I regress every now and then.
I mean, it's yeah, being 33, I guess, but nah, like I've been trying to. Well, I guess you gotta hit rock bottom a few times because I mean I have
Yeah,
and
yeah.
got in
Well,
situations where I'm like it just like it leaves you with nothing. Like yeah, and
right,
then you definitely like I relied on self help, like on
right,
like books, YouTube videos, motivational stuff. I was obsessed
right.
over podcasts. I needed
Hmm.
it. So it pushed me. But now I'm to a point where like every self-help book is the same,
Yeah,
you know.
humans aren't gonna do it. They're not enough. There's
Mhm.
nothing. There's not a man-made concept that's gonna provide you any type of fulfillment.
Yeah, like the perfect diet doesn't exist.
Right. The perfect routine doesn't exist. You don't have to wake up at
Right,
5 a.m. every day. You don't have to eat 2 grams of your per pound of your body weight every day. You don't have to
right.
run a mile every morning.
Or
Whatever it is.
take creatine, like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get a
yeah,
perfect body. People get
yeah. The
obsessed
only
over a
thing I
perfect
will
body, man.
recommend is pre-workout. You take
Yeah.
a quarter scoop of pre-workout, you can do anything.
Now, I tried it at when I used to work at a warehouse. They had
Yeah.
this pills as well, and I tried some free ones. And one of the ingredients was horny goat weed or something like that.
Hmm.
Man, I was wired.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was overheating.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I guess some supplements are better than others, that's for sure. That's
Hmm.
another thing I think people should be more cognizant of. But
I don't take anything. I don't work out like I used to, but like I told you, I'm injured, and I don't know. Did you take the vaccine?
no, I hadn't gotten mine yet. Straight out, I don't care.
Yeah, I got the.
And I've never had COVID either, so whatever.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people needed it, and I don't know if I wanted to get it. I didn't want to get it, but it was
Right.
like they were asking for it at the job where I was gonna work at,
Yeah, same.
and I mean,
Well, I missed out on.
I'm not like a anti-vaxxer where like, oh
That
yeah,
me either, not at all. If you do your thing, absolutely, your body, your choice, right?
yeah, exactly. I felt that it was more like your decision. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
mandated.
absolutely
Yeah.
not.
It goes back to politics, like violating
Hmm.
the freedom of speech or your
Yep.
rights. There's a lot of rights with that. Sometimes, like with surveillance and all that shit gets like we don't have anymore.
Right.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
That's another. I mean, that's just a lot of that stuff is it's important to people, but it's so superficial, that it's stuff that I really don't even pay attention to. Um,
I'm with you. Yeah.
if you have an opinion about the vaccine, like really, man, that's like all you got going on for you, I mean, if that's your thing, right on, maybe something I
Yeah.
don't, or maybe there's something people need to know, but I don't have time for that.
And then grow. Yeah, like they're like some people are like strictly like if you're not vaccinated, like I don't want
Yeah,
to talk to you.
yeah, virtue signaling. I'm gonna keep saying that all night. You keep bringing it up. Virtue signaling.
That's why I haven't said Black Lives Matter really.
Hmm?
Like I haven't like posted anything or like did any of the social media things
Yeah,
because I don't feel like I have to say it. Like
right, right,
it's something that I don't have to make public.
right, right, right,
Like
right.
it's
Absolutely.
obvious. One of those things where like, why do I have to post about it? And yeah, like some people, maybe it's the way I grew up. Like we grew up in Nacogdoches in a high
Right.
school where it was so diverse, right?
Exactly.
And like I was with people that I grew up with Mexicans at
Hmm.
first, but then you get to an age where you hit like what middle school, you see like white people, black people, you like you understand them, maybe you don't. Like I
Yep.
was learning English. So
Yep.
yeah, like it was a whole learning experience of
Yeah.
like learning about other people.
Actually learning, actually interacting with other races,
Yeah,
other cultures. You know what I'm saying?
there
It's
was points
different than.
of difference. Like there was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
points
You
where like
you get to the
like
point where
black
you're like
versus
you're a human.
Mexicans.
Right. Right.
I don't know if I think it happens. I have seen it like in every generation. Like there's like a
Hmm.
point where like your race against their race, like
Hmm.
there's like a little bit of you have to break through that phase of like, oh no, like we're all the same. And
Exactly. Exactly. And you're only going to get that through interacting, like you said, we came like
yeah, it's almost
from
like being
associate,
in
like
prison. You know, it happen,
yeah,
like if you look at life, like a prison is like a extreme experiment of what, like the extremes of life. You know, like in
right.
real time, like it's an actual experiment, like prison.
Yeah.
What would happen, like if you put man in a place like that for a long
Hmm.
time? All all that shit that's gonna happen. Well, that's how I see life. There's a bunch of,
Yeah.
you learn from everything, like social
Yeah.
experiments that are
Little,
always at
li-
play.
yeah, little microsystems.
Yeah, yeah. It goes like I made a TikTok video earlier about how Trump, and then you got Kanye,
Yeah.
and Trump said whatever he wanted, and like and the people behind him stood with him, and
Right.
then you got Kanye, like where he said one thing, and then like there's like half the communities divided on like they don't want to
Yeah.
claim it anymore, so
Yeah.
like they can't really get
Right.
behind him the
Right.
way they did for Trump.
Right. Now that is interesting. I never thought about that
That's a
before.
social experiment right there that
Yeah.
I'm noticed that the thing is the Republican Party is up for grabs. If Trump can win like the Democratic side is already like, it's too hard for anybody to make it besides who they want. Like they got
Hmm.
Biden, Kamala Harris, already got all these
Right. I could see
uh,
that.
players there. But then
Yeah.
the Republican side, there's Trump and whoever makes a strong case. So
Right.
it's all about followings and it's all about support. If people can
Right.
get behind Kanye, like he got a 2024 hat.
Yeah.
Like he's like he can run for president. He can be
Yeah.
the first Black Republican president.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
If Trump can
Absolutely.
do it, he can do it.
Absolutely.
And but the Black
Well,
community doesn't want to get behind him
yeah. And I think
because
too.
he's
I think too.
Republican. He's
Yeah.
conservative.
Yeah. Well, I think too, though, I don't want to get bogged down in some of these like cliches or demographics or like ideas of, what a president's supposed to be because, I
Yeah.
mean, technically speaking, I think from a, I'm not really that into politics. I think it is an interesting kind of like what you would call like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a social, what do you call it when you go out
No,
and
no.
make stuff happen? So like social experiments, I guess, kind of like you were saying, like kind of idea. But with
We'll find a better word
Trump's,
for it.
yeah, with Trump's business acumen, like I'm a capitalist over all parties. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
In that sense that I'm not political. So the fact that Kanye, did 808s and Heartbreaks, which is a fantastic album, for what it is. I have it on vinyl. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
I don't really think he'd be that great of a president. I don't know anything about being
I think he
president
will.
or
He's
what
very
is.
educated.
Is he? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
he's a genius for sure. Like
Yeah.
he sees things differently.
No,
He's like
that's
Elon
fair.
Musk.
That's part of his artistic expression. I definitely can understand that.
It's like
But
Steve Jobs. People that just like don't
is he?
really. Yeah, he can be,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he doesn't want to be told like he has, like he's a uh genius rebel, like you can say, like
Mm-hmm.
like he he's not like following the rules. He doesn't want
Right.
to follow the rule because he worked
Right.
all the way to, like, same with Trump. He worked for him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, that is true, but there's also a difference between Donald Trump and at the real Donald Trump, right? So now we're getting into like personalities and celebrities to a certain extent. And while Donald Trump had his Twitter going loud, I mean, he still, has and I'm not even necessarily saying he was a successful businessman uh because of all his failed companies or, whatever slack he may get, but um he had at least had, bought and sold a couple things before. Kanye, he's produced products and sold them. But also, he's not in at the, a board level or the administrators level or anything. He's there as the,
I mean,
the celebrity
well,
pill or whatever.
he's gonna change a lot of things. He's gonna like bust out like executive orders.
Is that what they're saying?
Now that's what I'm predicting. If
Yeah.
he ever runs, like this is
Yeah.
me pushing this idea of
Yeah.
but anyway.
But hey,
Like,
no, dude. Back in like 2016, I'm pretty sure I was saying like Kanye and Oprah for president. You know, like I
yeah,
remember a long time. I'll go find a Facebook post, but I remember a long time ago. I was like, "Let's do this." Like Kanye for president. He did
yeah,
something or said that he was going to run for president, joking around or something like that way back. I was like, "No, let's do
yeah,
this,
yeah.
Kanye. I'm
And
all about it."
that's
But
the crazy
also
part.
just for the social experiment, just to see what happens, because
That's the
that's what
crazy part.
America
Like he
is.
always does. He said he always does what he said he was gonna do, and
Hmm.
now he's saying that like he said
Yeah,
that back in the day that he's gonna run. I mean, maybe
yeah,
he's thinking about it now. Like I always said that I might get into politics eventually, but I don't want to right now.
yeah. You
So
should. You'd be a good voice for the people.
I mean, I'm thinking about it. Maybe into like here, like in the state first.
Yeah. Hmm.
Running for Congress or something.
Yeah. City
But
council. You got to start somewhere.
the council, exactly.
Yeah.
Any of those seats,
Hmm.
the townships or something. Yeah.
And that's another deal too. Is as we've kind of boxed ourselves off through the social media hemispheres or the digital marketplace in general, which has prolonged this recession and stuff to a certain extent, and some of Biden's policies, for better or worse, we'll find out. Um, but that tribalism, that's been a really hefty
Yeah.
a fine that we've had to pay as far as communities involved. And so the idea that people can relocalize, some ideas or some things that the state might be responsible for, or that the
Mhm.
feds might be responsible
Yeah,
for,
we
and
talked
just
about
trying
this
to get
before. Right.
you have.
This is more of your views politically, or like how a system works best for you, like when it comes to
Hmm.
like dividing a power between the state and the
Hmm.
federal level.
Absolutely, state rights over everything. We would not
I
be as
believe
far
that.
as we are. We would not be as far as we are today if it wasn't for state rights. We'd be an oligarchy by
Yeah.
now.
Well, they have to. It definitely it has to lean more towards they have certain yeah, like certain things they can. Yeah,
Well, the whole
I see what you're
idea,
saying.
right, is with state rights is that you have 50 of them. So you have 50 different states that can come up with pretty much their own rules. And then if you kind of believe in what that state's doing, you go live there. Hence the great exodus from California to Texas. I mean, you have examples that show this time after time, to the point where they have to put up billboards in Texas being like, "Hey, don't forget why you moved here. Vote red." Um,
Right.
like I said, I'm not either Republican or Democrat. Whoever is
And if
gonna
it was
follow
up to
this.
me, I mean, it seems like the United States, like if you study like Europe, it's split
Mhm.
into like smaller countries. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen here. If they want to, like, that's basically going to the state level. Like maybe if you
Right.
stay like the United Kingdom,
Mm.
and then there's like Ireland and Wales. They have their own
Right.
countries in a
Right.
way. That can like United States will have more of the every state is a country. They have
Hmm.
certain as a country they have the power of a country
Right.
has certain laws and things like
Right.
that. Like have border security, like who gets through, like
Right.
if they want to.
Hmm. Well, and
Um,
I mean, obviously, there's some things that have to remain at the federal level because there are
yeah,
very few states that actually pay into the federal funding versus the states who are so poor they actually they take from federal funding to a certain extent.
yeah,
And so that's always a good thing, right? You don't want some state who's kind of falling behind because they made some stupid laws or they're bad at their tourism,
exactly.
marketing or whatever it is. Like, we got to take care of each other to a certain extent at a bare minimum or whatever. So I definitely appreciate that, especially social welfare,
Yeah, I
social
think it could be all
reform.
states for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah,
think just as important is each state's, their own economy, their own colloquialisms as far as language, sayings, phrases, the cultural aspect of it.
mhm,
What would Texas be without Mexico right now? Tejanos
mhm,
forever, like, I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
there's too much not to recognize that diversity offers. But
so in a way you believe in segregation.
how so?
Nah, I'm joking.
Oh
No,
no, I
like
was just curious. That's
because
if you.
segregation is just a strong word, but we do get segregated. Like if you like when you like think about it globally, like
Okay.
we do and even like in a local level, we create groups of like our own people. Like China is mainly Chinese, like in Africa is mainly
Right.
uh black people. And I traveled to Greece, it was mainly
Hmm.
white people there. I was like,
Hmm.
if you travel to Nigeria, it's gonna be mainly black people. So it wouldn't, and we want to keep it that way. Like
Right.
Sweden is mainly like blonde people. They
Is it that we want to keep it that way, or kind of like some of these poorer states? I mean, those countries
no,
don't.
it's not really like we want to keep it that way, but it's like we is part of our, they say like things that we have been programmed to do,
Hmm.
like keep our uh people that, we're more attracted to people that look at like us or feel more comfortable, or like it's more of a family thing. uh
Yeah.
so many factors involved. It's not really segregation, or like, oh, we just want this state or this country to be all white or all black, but
It's like naturally occurring.
naturally occurring.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But my point, or my question to that, I guess, is why is that country that way, or why is that
Mhm.
continent that way? I mean,
Location,
what?
geography.
Yeah, what? Why would I want to go live in Africa? Am I gonna make money in Africa? Am I gonna make money in Greece? I mean, like America,
That's
or
why
United
that's
States
why I
is.
believe that's why I believe in a way. I believe in open borders and free migration, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like free market.
Yeah,
Like it's going to eventually set.
right.
Migration is
Hmm.
part of the human experience. Like it's in the Bible. Like it's
Hmm.
about like throughout history, empires, country,
Hmm.
conquer. We don't want to. We're evolved from all that because of our wisdom from history. Like we're not supposed to be like. We know that there's different people out there. Like back in the
Yeah.
day, like it was fear between tribes, because we didn't have the communication. We didn't know what they were doing,
Right.
like, and then we didn't think they were gaining territory over
Hmm.
us. It was all about territory, so it was more of
Hmm.
a fear involved in conquering each other for protection. And now we don't really need to do that. you know we just we know enough about, like, oh yeah, China is a whole different country, India, like I
Hmm.
don't want we don't want to go over there and conquer it, like. And why would they want to conquer us? Like, stay over
Right.
there. Like, it's that's why they
Well,
escalate in this situation
well,
politically.
the definition of conquer changes over time. Quite literally, it was land, like when
Yeah.
ever the
That was
Caucasians, or
capitalism.
the, what is it called, Anglo-Saxons, I guess, whenever the Anglo-Saxons landed in
Yeah,
America, and they were like, this is my land, and the Native Americans were like, what? This is everybody's land. What are you talking about? You can't own land. Like, who told you that?
true. Good
So I
point.
mean, just the fact that some type of people came up with the idea that they could take over land is a new form of conquering. Before it might have been like
Well,
just
but it
simply
was
had.
it was being done before the Anglo-Saxons. Like
Yeah, yeah, no
Genghis
doubt. No,
Khan
I
did
was
it.
just using that as an example, for sure,
Alexander the
for
Great did
sure.
it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I'm saying before that, it was probably closer to technology. What allowed hunters and gatherers to become like agricultural in Mesopotamia. So that was a nation that conquered just simply through science. You know what I mean? They dominated, a food system or whatever.
Yeah.
And so what is the equivalent of that today? So what you're talking about in the idea of, or the like almost legitimate idea of taking over another nation, that's not how it works anymore. You do that through political influence. You do that through strong holding, their economy. You do that through embargoes. You do that through, like what we were trying to do for Russia when they invaded Ukraine,
Right.
or cybersecurity, or something along those lines. But just making sure that they don't have an opportunity to, replace us as a first world country or whatever it may,
So it's
be.
all involved. Yeah, it's all involved on like the market
Hmm.
and capitalism, really.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
you can't take away, I guess, politics from capitalism. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you
and
really
I
can't.
guess, yeah, like there's where it's all about like who's conquering the market now. Like what country is conquering the market? You
Yep,
know what?
yep,
Like it's China with TikTok. It's like
yep.
now, like all
Good
this.
example.
They're like all these countries, or like America is like, hey, like we can't let this happen. Like we gotta come
Hmm.
up with an app. So now Instagram is doing what TikTok does.
Right.
With Reels. YouTube is doing it too.
Well, TikTok knew because of the the relationship that we have with a communistic, is it a dictatorship technically? Maybe. I know they're at least communistic, whatever.
It's a communist China, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
there's
But I
only
mean,
one political party, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that's the dictatorship kind of aspect. But TikTok knew that they had to sell fast because the majority of the market were, American, United States citizens or whatever. So they actually sold it to a U.S. company so that they would take the heat off of them. Um, so that in itself is kind of interesting. Not to say that, they still don't have a back door on every TikTok account and they're still
Talk
getting
about
access.
data. I mean, data is so fucking
Yep.
important. Like,
Yep.
which is crazy. Like the algorithms are fed on all this data, right? And
Right.
that goes back to I was having a conversation with one of an activist here that he is very pro black, pro LGBTQ, all this.
That's
And
awesome. Absolutely.
yeah, someone has to do it and
Yep.
speak up. And we have debates about stuff like that. And it was going back to the misinformation that is put out there by these media companies run by this. But it's also like the algorithms that that are like controlling the like how much they make out of us, like how our dopamine levels and all this. So it's
Right.
crazy.
I
Like
saw that that I don't remember what show it was or whatever on Netflix that talked a lot about that, and it was a lot of the coding engineers and the people who developed those algorithms coming out from the darks, to tell like how crazy it is. They have it down to a science, of when you get notifications a certain amount of time after you exit the app and different things like that, and then down to the content, in of itself, like none of it's good. Like if it's trending, it's not good for you. That's why it's trending. If it was good for you, it won't be trending. If it made you like actually feel happy, you wouldn't go back to like a negative chemical addiction, where you're almost like codependent on it. Now, any dopamine, that you're raising through digital is not good at all.
Right. It's good to be aware.
That was a good couple. That was a good couple of weeks that I went through.
I mean, and it's part of our daily life now in our phones.
Yeah.
So like we gotta check our bank accounts. So of course we're like the social media is a distraction for most of us, unless people go back to flip phones because of that. I thought about it.
I mean, you say unless we do this, but it's still a choice. I don't know if it's we were kind of talking about earlier, like the idea of like you didn't feel the need to put, like a whatever filter like on your Facebook for Black Lives Matter. Like a lot of that type of virtue signaling is more or less, I feel, the individual person validating their realization that, like Black people had been treated poorly in the past or currently are, police, all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Just because you just now found that out doesn't mean you need to go around telling everybody else about it. Like you process it, you digest it, you decide what you're going to do if you want to do something, but you don't need to say like, hey, everybody like my profile picture because I just found out that cops are shooting Black people. It's like, what? Like that's a personal, for that's
has
you,
been going on. And what I have to say about that is that it's like we can all acknowledge, even Ben Shapiro can acknowledge, at one point there was a systemic racism, like redlining, all that. Like
I'm sure there still is. It was probably a lot more overt and in the open, back in the day. But I know there still is. Some.
Yeah, and I'm sure there still is. And there, like some of people on the conservative side are claiming that there's no such thing when there's been laws that have to be changed,
right?
Because they were discriminating against people of color, mainly Black people.
Yep.
So there's got to be residues of that. So people are still activists. So activists, pushing to change policies is something that, or like it's important to continue pushing towards equality in the way of like making sure the laws work, the same for everyone.
Right.
And policing works the same for everyone.
Right.
But
the intent again is what matters. Like what is bringing all of this, bringing this particular issue or platform to the forefront. What are people actually doing with it? Because it's always just talking. It's like, or it gets reduced to some stupid like defund the police. Like, what does that even mean?
Let's
You
be
know, like,
honest. I mean, I'm
can
pretty
you use
sure
your
that
words?
being a
You know, like,
yeah. Now, I was gonna say that being a police in some areas is can be very dangerous. You know,
hmm
and there's also the cops that are bad cops
right,
that just yeah, they do racially profile someone,
right.
or I mean, to a
I guess,
certain
I
way,
guess,
yeah.
yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if you are able to reduce your entire belief system to 2 to 3 words in a hashtag, there's something
Mm,
wrong with your belief system.
yeah,
You know, if you're gonna say defund the police, like, tell me what does that mean to you? Oh, well, they shouldn't get money if they're killing people. It's like, well, what if instead of defunding the police, maybe they reallocated some of their funding to better training, or maybe to
right.
updating their policies and procedures, or having a third party come in and kind of assess their policies and procedures.
Like if they really want anarchy, right?
I, I have no idea. I
Well,
think
that's
it's
what they're saying.
really. I think we're talking
Defunding the
about.
police. That would mean like there's no, like no one, like who's gonna take like that neighborhood watch? They're
Right,
gonna rely on
right,
neighborhood watch.
yeah,
Like,
mhm,
is that what you're calling for? Is
right,
that
right,
how it's gonna be?
right.
Would that
Otherwise,
work?
it's just misinformation, and it's just like a social media campaign that doesn't have anything other than what is it called, like clickbait, or click
Yeah, yeah, man. And
keywords, or Google keywords analytics and stuff.
it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of distraction, you know.
And can you imagine? Like, we're at that generation that, like, you know I remember getting my flip phone in high school. I remember when, Vine came out. I
Yeah.
remember, like, again, the idea that you figure stuff out for yourself, that you're not just regurgitating what your favorite, friend on social media just realized.
Exactly.
Like, it's just all really diluted, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I guess everyone is trying to uh get an identity, but then like it's so easy. That's why it's good. Like, oh, I was thinking about something like because I'm poetic, right?
right.
So I
Yeah.
was thinking of like, you know how they say like we're a product of our own of our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who do you become if you keep changing your environment? Like, if your environment keeps changing, like if you're gonna keep up. Your product is gonna keep updating. If you see
Mm-hmm.
yourself as a product, like it's gonna be
Yep.
like your iPhone that it's the same iPhone, but it has to get another update, another update. You know.
Right.
So you changing your environment is good for you. Staying in
Yeah.
the same environment is molding you, but then you become bigger than your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like after a certain point of like change. Sometimes it's forced. Like sometimes like you can't change your environment. Your environment like changes because of certain situations.
Right.
Like like going back to migration, or you're a kid. You don't have a lot of control over your environment. As adults we have more control over, I guess, where do we go, like
Yeah.
and the people we surround ourselves with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we keep talking about your product of your environment, but one of my favorites is you're the average of the 4 people you spend the most time with, right?
Mhm.
So the idea, and professionally speaking, I learned this like through my business acumen, like as far as just development in general. But you want to make sure that you have a mentor, you want to make sure that you have a colleague, and you want to make sure that you have a mentee in everything that you do in life,
Mm.
because you're always learning. Then you're always challenging, someone who's on your level, and then you're always teaching someone, which is the
Yeah.
highest form of learning. You know what I'm saying? And so
Wow.
if you can really kind of find a dynamic kind of approach to that in life to a certain extent, it just becomes actionable, because it's not necessarily so much like of you moving and experiencing new things.
Mhm.
That's going to come. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the person who enjoys walking is going to get much further than the person who enjoys the destination, kind of idea, because they're going to hit the destination and keep walking. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Um,
good point, because it's not just about like, oh, I gotta like keep moving,
mhm.
like, or I gotta like go travel, like that you fall into that trap of like, oh, like
Right,
traveling is good for you, but like, oh, so
right.
I'm not, like, so you're traveling because you're not good, and
Y-
like
Yep.
you get into the philosophical aspect of it, like I don't
Just
know if you
just
heard of.
yeah, doing things with more intention,
Mhm.
be more purposeful instead of letting stuff happen to you, kind of idea. It's
Right.
difficult. I mean, it's something I'm struggling with absolutely every day, but
Oh yeah, man. It's just we're not like, have you? I mean, you heard of Jocko Willink, right?
Mhm.
The guy Jocko Willink,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
nitty skill. that wrote
ownership.
he's all about discipline
Yeah,
and
ownership.
freedom. I mean, it's his fucking quote, freedom equals discipline. It's
Freedom equals
so
discipline.
fucking beautiful.
Yep.
It does. Like
Yep.
we keep saying that, like, especially now in the age of like instant gratification,
Hmm.
like we can easily like game for like 10 hours, play video games for 10 hours, drink for, like go out party, like like stay like feeding our, the cycle of
Yep.
where it's keeping you distracted, but it's not really like we say that we're free, but we're really like
Right.
we're really free when we keep those things under control. Like we're
Right.
not like relying on all these like bad habits that are keeping us, because deep down we're still upset that we're not where we want to be, right?
Hmm.
And it all comes down to that, like how
Well,
about
and
you?
that's a huge vibe check. Like what you're talking about is one of the most important things I think that people our age need to start kind of recognizing
Mhm.
before it becomes too late.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you started gaming in high school, and you're wasting like 30 minutes a day, and now all of a sudden, you're up to like, 2 hours a day, something like that. I mean, by the end of the year, you're talking about 700 hours gone, bro. 700
Yeah.
hours of your life just gone. What is that? That's like 100 work weeks.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Wait, no, that's not right.
I
10 work.
used to game. I used to play a lot of video
I
games,
was
but
really
it
bad
was
at math.
what, like the Nintendo 64,
Yeah, that was the
Super
last time I really played.
Nintendo.
Yeah, I did
Oh
play.
yeah.
Shout out to Elder Scrolls. I did play ESO for a little while, but that was more for escapism for a couple of years.
Have you ever played the game Legends? Gauntlet
Yeah,
Legends? Oh
64,
my
boy.
god.
Yeah, I still have that game, and I still have not beaten it. That is a
Yeah.
hard game.
That was a badass game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
definitely. But so I mean, I stayed up playing video games for the most part, but now it's becoming a thing where, because you can make money out of it, like
Mm-hmm.
people want to become really good at it. So there's more incentive to play. But then
True.
it's all about opportunity cost, right? Like with the more time you
Correct.
spend doing this video
Correct.
gaming, you're losing like back to tribalism, or like having our tribe, like spending
Mm-hmm.
time with people, like developing your social coherence,
Yeah.
like
Well,
so.
and like, so let's bring this all together, right? And I love that you brought up Gauntlet Legends, because I remember even in high school thinking this way, right? You have your barbarian, you have your archer, you have your
Mhm.
wizard, whatever, and it takes all four of those roles, to really, go through the game and 100% it, I guess, or whatever they want to call it. Uh,
Yeah.
no death run, I guess you want to say. And and life is a lot like that too. I'm starting to realize more and more. Most of my friends who are especially successful or whatever are really good at understanding, the couple of the types of professions that they need to surround themselves with to propel them forward. Like a business owner is friends with a CPA, who's friends with a merchandiser, who's in friends with a manufacturer or something like that. And then all of a sudden you have like a solid business, that's producing this much money. But just the idea of kind of starting to realize like what you need in your life to get you to the next level, because you're not gonna be able to do it by yourself. I always actually think back to Gauntlet Legends and like stuff like that. So I love that you brought that up.
I mean, I go back to soccer really, because
Hmm.
you learn that when you first start developing skills, like, and you as a soccer player, you're like, oh yeah, I can take this person, like, and then you try to take the whole team and you become ball hog.
Yep.
But when you do that, like first, like you get tired more. Like, so
Yep.
maybe you don't. Maybe you're able to do it, but then you create problems with your team, right?
Hmm.
It's a lot of negative effects when, like, compared to like you realize the importance of involving others in your game. Like passing the ball first, like looking for your teammate, like giving goals, like like you get
Yes.
more you get more excited about someone like scoring a goal of your assist than of you scoring a goal yourself.
Yep. Yep. I
That's
mean,
what
that
that's
goal, that goal's always going to be there. but you never know where your teammate's going to be in order for you to pass that ball just right, where he only has to one touch it into the goal. I mean, that's a higher, frequency to be on as far as a player is concerned. So I can appreciate that too. Absolutely. That, and obviously, relishing in your teammate's success, that they got that goal.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Positioning is important. Absolutely.
That's dope, man. That's exactly what I'm. One of my favorite words is collaboration now. So it's like a lot has to do with understanding that there's maybe someone is doing the same thing that you're doing. Like, would you see them as competition, or are you gonna realize that you can actually push each other and help each other in a way? Like, you become a whole, like, going back to it, I went to school for business management, so I got tied up to the economy and economics. Going back to like nations when they trade, is like one has a certain skill over like this, or like is able, like one grows crops, the other one has cattle, right?
Right.
So they interchange. It's like even between like two people that are doing the same thing. Like for example, a lot of people have a clothing brand, right? Like maybe they have a certain machine, and then maybe you have like you can like go back to social media as well. Like you feed up each other's followers, but collaboration, like it's like you don't competition,
right?
Is like is not as it's only gonna get you so far, because like, I don't know,
well,
man.
And what is the intent behind the competition? If you're in competition with someone and it's honestly to set yourself apart from the competition is the goal, or to provide a higher quality product, to provide a higher quality service, that's totally different. That's what capitalism is supposed to be all about. But if you're unnecessarily like in competition with something, what is the intention for? Are you, trying to destroy that person? Are you trying to take over their marketplace?
Because
no.
Exactly.
They
I'm glad you mentioned all that, because I studied economics, like maybe I took a course. So goes back to competition, and I think that capitalism is not complete right now. That's why it's so hurtful to the environment. Is like it's certain, like the way it operates, like certain people become rich and then like other people don't, and there's a lot of like negative externalities from capitalism. Because you gotta tie compassion into the effect, because as humans, if you like study the economy and then compare it to a human, like it's almost similar. We're competitive creatures. Capitalism is for competitive people, but we're also compassionate people at the same time. Like and sometimes capitalism forgets that. So that's why I feel that there's got to be like a mixture of like capitalism with dare to say the word socialism involved.
Because well, I mean, I think what you're talking about, and another shout out to Mr. Cole Hatter, but I was really like obsessed with this this one master, is it called like a mastermind class or whatever it was? It's called Thrive. And the whole idea, I think the business model is that you have, small business owners who, are seeing at least 6 figures, maybe 7 figures. And, they're like 50 years old and they've just worked hard all their life. Maybe their family's in shambles, or, whatever. They have some type of pain point where they're not getting fulfillment. And so his brand, Thrive, is called Make Money Matter. And so the whole idea is that you're not getting fulfillment because you're not taking, that 10% top back to the community. And you need to figure out, your values kind of aspect. And I was really into that, and I thought it was super awesome until I realized it was just his business model of getting money, which, makes it a little less authentic to a certain extent. But if you could honestly make money matter, I think that would be phenomenal. Like that's exactly what
you make money matter, but you also have to, like, it doesn't matter of how fast your company grows in a way, as long as it's growing organically. I feel that that's one of the things that capitalism, like they say that this should be a free market. I don't think so, because it was a free market at one time. The only reason why all these laws were passed like was because Rockefeller got out of control, like Andrew Carnegie was as well, like the steel companies, like they
Yeah.
took over the whole market, they monopolized the market, and that's what would happen.
Right. So I forgot. In all honesty, I forgot that you have an economics degree. So this is something I can actually kind of talk on a little bit. But I mean, there's a difference between a vertical monopoly, right? Right, which is the classic monopoly. That's the last person that they really got was Bill Gates, unfortunately. But people aren't talking about vertical monopolies. Okay, so it's one thing. It's one thing to have the resource, the manufacturer, the car, you own everything, down the line or whatever. Like that's completely unfair. But then you also have, like Amazon, like how are they not a monopoly? How hasn't legislation, like reassessed itself to realize that that company doesn't need to be that big? And again, this isn't a political view. This isn't anything. This is just how I feel. What you're talking about. Like it shouldn't be a totally free market because otherwise that happens. But then we're just like, yeah, no, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are awesome. They really work hard. And it's like, really? Because I'm pretty sure their factories work, their shipping factories work hard, But
I mean, there's got to be, man. You see, that's why I see it too. Because you said that it's all about taking it back to the local level, right? The municipality
exactly.
level. And I feel that's how economies gotta let the small businesses thrive. Yep. So that's where the regulation needs to take place. Where it's kind of like a car, like every part, regulates the whole car. It turns the car on, keeps the car on from overheating. Does the capitalism overheats all the time, and the government got to be there to like let some water in, and cool it down, like the whole motor stays cool. The oil, so it stay lubricated, like so. Like so it keeps it from the system from falling apart. Right, and that's what the government. That's how the government got to work with capitalism. And there wouldn't be, and it goes back to like our taxes being used correctly, right? There wouldn't be homelessness, like there'll be the word communism. There'll be more involved. That's a negative word. Socialism is a negative word. So, but those are things that we need. Like communism will be taking care of like our taxes would be like building houses. Like we're not building houses just to sell them, and to fill them up and to resell it, put them in the market. We're building houses to keep up like with the population. Everyone deserves to have one house in a way, and then whatever they do after that, they can sell it.
That's now you're getting into a touchy subject of mine because
homelessness.
I read did I work? All right. I read that I think it's about 15% of the realty last year was purchased by like hedge funds, pretty much the equivalent of. So like I have legitimate concerns as a parent that my children are actually going to have a hard time buying their house. So that means I got to get to work. And you think I'm being funny about it, but if corporations bought 15% of all realty in the United States last year,
we don't really own it a lot. We don't really own anything anymore.
Well, and another thing that you were kind of alluding to, like as far as the free market not necessarily working out. Well, a big signal of that is obviously the inequality gap, right? The socioeconomic inequality gap. The poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer, bud. Like, there's just no way around that. I mean, waiters are still making $2.15 an hour. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right. See, the way I would change things like that, if I had the money to, like, if I had a successful company, which I don't right now, but if I did, would be like hiring with intention, where like you're not hiring an employee, because eventually if you just hire people to, the thing about capitalism, you're hiring someone to pay them the least to get the most out of.
Right.
So it's already like a fucked up system.
Right.
So that's why socialism would be like everyone's an equal partner. So like, okay, when you think like that, then the person you bring in got to make sure it's got to be the right person. So it goes back to growing organically. Like a socialist company, business run company would be like,
so then you don't,
we're only gonna make hires, like, and then ownership, the ownership changes, because now like there's a lot of people getting rich just out of ownership. They don't really contribute anything to the company anymore. Like
Hmm.
there's like the owners of NFL companies. Like there's
Hmm.
an old lady that owns a damn NFL team. It just doesn't make sense to me in a
Well,
way.
let me ask you a question. Okay, um, so then that means you don't believe in affirmative action, right?
Affirmative action,
Yeah. Is
which is
affirmative
like,
action more is if you're hiring with intention, is affirmative action more important than hiring someone who is possibly more qualified?
well, the whole system is gonna be different. Like when you
You know
hire
what I mean?
someone with
But
intention.
you know, you see what I'm saying though, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
not necessarily I'm just saying that idea is really important, right? So we've been spending the last 20 to 30 years, you
Yeah.
know, virtue signaling, you know, social reform, social superiority, some sense of grandiose, like, oh no, you know, this is what's really going to help this minority is, you know, making sure that they get a position here, a
Right.
position there,
It's just
and then they
adding.
just
It's basically like, yeah. Go
and then
ahead.
no matter what race you are, you end up selling out. You know what I mean?
No, the
You're
thing
like,
is,
fuck my family back home. I'm gonna be rich. You know?
it's like affirmative action is just adding another like it's like twister, like you
Hmm.
twisting the game, like making it even worse by adding
Yeah,
something else into it. It's like
correct.
already
Not to say that it's not like a like I believe when it was implemented or instituted, created, whatever it is, it was came from a good place. But
well,
it's just such there's no practicality behind it. You
right.
know?
That's why I agree with the Republican Party, which is less regulation means
Hmm.
that we're like letting the knots out, like we're trying to unknot the whole system because there's
Hmm.
so many laws and regulations that were passed that are hurting the small businesses.
And in all
And it's
honesty,
hard,
you know,
and a lot of it is like barriers to entry into the
hmm,
market, like is so high,
yeah,
you know,
that's true
and
too.
it could be easier.
But I mean, if you want to get real to a certain extent, that well, not necessarily real. I would like to qualify the idea or assert, um, you know, that's why Trump had such a hard time. I mean, you had, and again, this is totally speculation. Like, I don't have an opinion about this. I don't really care.
Mhm.
But you know, you had the billionaire elites in New York. You had the FBI. You had all these people who were starting to see that this guy was coming in and trying to
Yeah.
deregulate things and get rid of some of the
Yeah.
bureaucratic aspects, bring back
Uh-huh.
NAFTA, you know, and all these different things that had some
Yeah. It
business,
goes back
you
to
know,
foreign policy
practicality.
too. Yeah,
Hmm.
it can go into foreign policy as well. How it's fucking up
Yep.
the economy here in America.
Who? Who did? Whose policies?
No, no, no. I said like what we're talking about can go whose policies? Both parties. Like
That's true. That is true. But well, I can't tell. You know, that's what I said about Biden's current policies. You know, for better or worse, because all it is prolonging. You know, this bubble. You know, or whatever it's gonna lead into,
I mean
recession or depression. But
the agreement to like where they're like, oh yeah, now we're gonna expand globally with China, do business with China. It was a whole like, oh, China is gonna make all our products. Like
yeah,
we're gonna buy from them. This is how it's gonna work. Like
right.
it's not really like China's gonna come over here. I guess like
Well,
China
there's some
outplayed the US in that deal, you know.
right. Yeah, but also to a certain extent, like you know, you hide important information. So yeah, child labor is obviously a problem. Okay, you know, like and it sucks. You know, like that it
Mhm.
exists. It sucks that you know children can't, I guess, play with Power Rangers. You know, for 18 years or whatever it is. You know, regardless that you know they still have to have a certain aptitude or competency probably to perform the job, and they're probably bringing home something to a certain extent to their families. But still, you know, I mean, you know, whatever. It's child labor, right? But you know, I actually more recently within the last year was informed or introduced to the idea that China actually has a large majority of the world's precious metal reserves as far as space age technologies. And so
Yeah.
while Apple was taking on all this flack about, you know, like little Chinese children making their phones, in all
Mhm.
actuality, it was so that they weren't so heavily taxed in importing those particular materials, and they would have direct access to them. And then if they, you know, that there were some child workers involved to save some more money, you know. But everything comes down to like, you know, the economical factors, you know, especially at that kind of scale.
Egos.
But they'll say again.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the laws, the business laws that were passed as well, like
Hmm.
that control the commerce,
Hmm.
that's hurting a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and then you want to talk more about
so
foreign policy?
I'm talking about like how I'm talking about like a system that would work. Like if we can rewrite like the way it operates, like
So
um,
that's where I think that there is enough technology and resources to evenly distribute to every human being on the planet, and that is where
yeah.
capitalism fails. That's where the socialism idea kind of comes into a certain extent.
Mhm.
But there is a reason why, and I honestly thought blockchain and what is the new blockchain? Whatever, they keep trying to change it up, but I thought that's what was going to solve a lot of this because that's nothing but logistics. I saw a commercial
Mhm.
from GE, I think it was, that was talking about blockchain technology, and it was showing like a bottle of pasta sauce, right? And you could
Yeah.
scan the QR code and you could literally see the row and where that tomato came from on the farm through blockchain technology.
Wow.
You know what I mean? The idea that it can just process that much information, blah blah blah, or whatever it is. And I kind of got
Yeah.
excited, but then what? Have you heard anything about blockchain? What is it doing for
Yeah.
us?
No. No. I think that it
You
could
know?
change. It could help a lot because it's
Yeah.
like the next like it's the next. Is it safer internet in a way? Like safer. It's like like operating like a business inside the internet.
Oh,
Like
it's not centralized. That's right. That's right. It's not centralized. That's a big part of it. You're right.
no. But yeah. It's I mean. It's Web 3.0. That's what they call it.
Hmm.
So it is like the next evolution, which is like safer, as in like you can protect like a whole data that's in this blockchain, Ethereum, like and have like be connected with so many things, have be in access to all these things, but like to all these different cryptocurrencies
Hmm.
and still be safe because it's
Right.
inside the blockchain, which is
Right.
inside the internet. So it's
Yeah.
basically like a way to yeah.
It's not centralized like at a bank. It's decentralized. It's everywhere. It's in the cloud
Yep.
kind of idea. You know what I mean? And you can't, technically penetrate something that is everywhere at all at once. I guess that's omnipresence. That's some God stuff.
Well, yeah,
God
because
tier.
it's they just get a um it's like the alarm system goes off if it's like a hack or something, like everyone's gonna notice, and then
Yeah.
you're able to track it. I think that
Tracking is the important
that's
part.
why I think it could solve like a lot of issues when it comes to money, because
All
for
right.
example, Bitcoin, it's only a certain limited amount that were created. I guess the only thing that would make a difference is the value of one Bitcoin.
Right.
But
But then
compared
you
to
hear the war
money,
stories of that guy who lost, 1,000 bitcoins because he forgot his encryption key or whatever. And so now you have, like what's 1,000 times what is it at right now? We'll just say 20K. I
yeah.
think it's at 16 or 17, but
But,
you lose
but
120. That's a lot of money
yeah.
gone.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a lot of money that I put in. Hopefully it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Hold on for dear
now I wanted to
life.
say like something like if you think about it, like damn, what was I gonna say?
My bad.
About Bitcoin. Oh, like you can track
Hmm.
where their money is going.
Hmm.
So I think you'll solve the problem of hoarding money,
Yeah.
because like for example, right now we don't know how the dollars got to where are the dollars are at and how they got there. With
Right.
Bitcoin, you can like basically there's a trace for every
Right.
transaction. So you see who's like hoarding the money,
Right.
and like it's come to the point where they have to let it go because there's no more
Hmm.
money in the system. So hoarding will be like the problem that we have now with trillionaires is that they don't want
Hmm.
to distribute the money,
Right.
because but they're like with Bitcoin, like something like that, where they'll be forced to continue the circulation for their own
Right.
good.
Well, yeah, yeah, and there's obviously like there's a disconnect between being able to understand what that actually even means. I mean, we
Yeah.
can sit here and talk about it, but the implications, are like way above the average person. And I think obviously it's going to be a finite amount of time before
Yeah, I
it's
think it
introduced
goes
and,
back
and
to
introduced to the average consumer
I
to
think it
where
goes
they
back to
understand
that,
it.
like how many people are excited about it, know about
Mhm.
it, and like are understand it. How many people understand
Yep.
it? That's when it will take off.
Right.
Because right now, a lot of people are learning about it, but it's still like the majority of the population who doesn't want to
Right.
even get involved with it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
I
gonna,
mean, and everyone has their own thing, you know. I've got a stack of PSA 10 Pokemon cards in my house. You know, like I mean, it's something I believe in. You know, like I'm gonna hold on to them for a little while, see what happens. You never know. But you know, everyone has their own thing that they're kind of investing into, and just hoping the market holds strong. You know, like who
yeah, but blockchain
did
technology
you imagine
still
in
gonna
high
change a
school
lot of
there would be
things,
sneakerheads?
huh?
Did you imagine in high school there would be such thing as a sneakerhead? I would have never
And,
imagined that people would have, you know, $50,000
well, the way
worth of
people collected
sneakers.
shoes back then, and they
Did
probably
they?
like not as it is today because of
Yeah,
all the Jordans that came out. But
yeah,
definitely, there were like people looking clean, bringing different
yeah.
shoes in and everything. Yeah,
Air Force Ones, and that was it. You know, like with those white Air Force Ones you had to have every summer,
yeah.
or those. I remember I had those Allen Iversons, those slip-on shoes. Man, those were fly.
I didn't have the best. I have the best shoe game. So yeah, New
It was like every
Balances. I had New
yeah,
Balances when they weren't cool.
yeah, every 2 to 3 years I got a neat shoe, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But I was
Hey
also
man,
the I was also out there, you know, running those time miles in like Chucks. I didn't know what I was doing. Like,
shit. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing neither. That's when I learned how to what running was. Like
yeah,
when
yeah,
Coach Rashid used to make us run a mile.
yep.
Yeah.
And if you threw up, you better kept
I was one
running.
of the ones that threw up a few times.
Yeah, you better keep running.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love
But
it.
that actually made me realize how much important, like how out of shape I was.
Well,
And then
and how far you
I
can
started
push your
doing more
body.
jump throws after that.
Yep, yep. I actually not this previous week, but a couple weeks before that, one week I had the flu, and then the next week I had strep, and I was out for like 2 weeks, just like dead to the world. But I mean, I still got up like, you know, 3 to 4 days out of the week and went and did a 15-mile bike ride. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
like
I
I
love
mean,
biking.
they say rest and all that, and you know, I'm thinking like, well, I slept for 10 hours last night. You know, I'll be okay.
Biking is
And
not that harmful to your body. Like it's something that
yeah,
you can do, like even if you have an injury, it's better
yep,
than like lifting weights or like doing all the heavy lifting.
that's true. That's true.
You definitely gotta get an injury if you're or re-injure something if you're doing that. But biking is a way for me that just to continue like staying in shape and
Yep,
exercising while working through an injury.
getting that blood circulating, all that kind of stuff. Dude, I'm telling you, I felt so great. I felt like like I had detoxified like almost every other day from being sick, being ill. Slept so much better, obviously, you know, because I was actually tiring my body out. Um, but yeah, so
Man, yeah, I need a. I mean, luckily I play soccer like 2 3 days. I mean, yeah, 2 3 days a week because I play with 3 different teams now. So like it's in different leagues. So that was
yeah,
kind of like I haven't really been exercising right now.
right.
Uh, which I should stop playing because I'm recovering from like I keep re-injuring my hamstrings. I don't let
Hmm.
them rest. Yeah,
Uh,
and I've been like that for a year now. Like I was about to go to Spain because I went to a tryout, and then
oh,
there was some scouts there, and I most of them didn't want to like talk to me because I was older, except one. They gave me a chance like to maybe go to Spain. I had to pay like out of pocket, but I'll be joining the academy for 3 months and trying to earn a contract.
oh wow,
I
yeah,
was trying to be like healed by then, but I had like all this like a hamstring. Both hamstrings
yeah,
were banged up from playing too much
yeah,
and from
yeah,
working out. Really,
yeah.
I just did some because I don't. I was just like going to the gym, and that day I was just doing like whatever, like going hard, but not really following like a method. And
Hmm.
I went too hard with my hamstrings. I ended up
Yeah.
like
Well,
yeah,
and that's a huge problem is you know, that we were talking about the you know, kind of bringing it full circle, but the idea of you know, the victim mentality,
yeah,
um, you know, the gym bro, or you know, whatever it may be, that has become so popular more recently. You know, now it's kind of being branded as the reason why they're working out is because they're emotionally hurt. You know, they have to work their feelings
yeah,
out and all that kind of stuff. And I think that once a lot of people get over that, you know, victim mentality, whatever trauma that they're going through, they get out of themselves, the spiraling, the obsessing, the hyper focusing, whatever it may be. Well, then they do tend to hyper focus on things that could be detrimental if they don't approach it, with some type of maturity or some type of understanding. And
Right,
definitely having
exactly. It
a
may have a
personal
lot of
trainer could
benefits
help.
for them to work out, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's a way of coping and
Yeah,
not actually addressing the main issue.
correct,
Like, are
exactly,
you really working on? You still have an anger issue? Like, are
right,
you still like
right.
acting like
Well,
a
and
immaturity in
I
the
can,
certain
right, and no, that's brilliant. I love that, and I can honestly say that I've been on both sides of it. So, um, probably back in June, I started obsessively like working out. My like, and
I've
it
been
wasn't
there too, man.
necessarily a like an image issue. It was the emotional kind of aspect of it. Is that I just needed to put myself into something to take my mind off of it. Um,
Hmm.
uh, uh, the motivation that comes with going through a traumatic experience, and the idea of that, you want to better yourself. You said that you did the self help. So Akira the Don, is that where you got that Jayco Willick reference? Have you listened to Akira the
Which
Don?
one? Cure of the Dawn.
I'll send you a link. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
pretty much like a up tempo gym bro music, but they take like Jayco Willink's stuff and put
Yeah.
it into a song, pretty much, or whatever. And
No,
like I went through
that's
that.
his name.
I
That's his
went through
name
that.
of his book. Discipline
Okay, right
equals
on.
freedom.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's one of his songs on Don the Akira. I'll send you the link. You'll appreciate it. But that was my version of the motivation. But I was getting it passively kind of through music, and so it was pretty much like his book, but in song form. I guess you'd say,
Mm,
or some of his
yeah.
like key phrases, dude. And I was all about it. Um, but it got to the point where I realized like I needed to focus more on maintaining the healthy lifestyle kind of aspect.
Yeah.
So, now I'm down 70 pounds, right? And so now it's like trying to kind of like reassess like where I go from here. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't keep this up forever. I've got to
Yeah.
start getting back to the business side of things. I kind of let off on my side hustles,
Oh,
blah, 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 for
yeah.
that.
Good thing you
So,
mentioned that. You start looking into like what can I do? What can I accomplish? And like
mhm,
into business, like you don't want to work
mhm,
forever. So,
correct.
and then you realize that you have to find ways to create streams of income, like
Yep.
different streams of income.
Yep.
And how are you gonna do that? Are you gonna stay even that becomes like another journey because like are you doing it like are you following what everyone else is doing like real estate like yeah crypto and all this
Yeah.
but is that you can get rich out of that but are you what about all those things like I don't know if you listen to Les Brown another motivational speaker Les Brown he was
Sounds
one of
familiar.
the first ones like that I used to listen to
Hmm.
but he said like he makes this analogy where like you're at your deathbed and all
Mhm.
your and then you're surrounded by all these people which they're not they're really your dreams and aspirations that you could have accomplished all the books that you could have
Mhm.
written all the different movies or like laws or whatever that you could have done
Right.
all these things but you just
Right.
didn't do them
Well,
and
right.
sometimes it's
So
because you get rich and you fall into the game of just following the money.
yeah, which I promise you, that is something that that's what I at least told myself I was doing. Like I have a public relations and advertising degree. I have a creative writing degree. I think I might have minored in technical writing. I don't know. Anyways, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But and
You
I've
got
had
the wordplay.
so many random jobs, dude. Like I taught English 4 and journalism and yearbook 1 year randomly. The peak of COVID, actually, 2020. I've worked for motorhome companies. I've written copy for like lawyers. Um, um, I've done merchandising. I've done like business development. I've literally created a marketing company from the ground up, like as a project manager, and that was a lot of fun. But it was it, if you don't find your passion, or if you don't find um, where you're making money matter to you,
Yeah.
you'll get lost
Yeah.
in it. Just like the idea of and it takes you to learn. It takes you going through. It takes you to listen to all those motivational tapes. Realize you don't really need them. You needed them at the time, so
Mhm.
that it helps you develop that insight. Uh, but here I am, 33 years old, and finally just starting to get back into what my passions are, as far as
and
it
it
trying
could
to make some money.
be it could look like a 18-year-old, it could look like a 17-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
like where you just like trying new things, where and
Yeah.
like for example, I say that because remember when we were 17, 16, there was like all these kids that wanted to come up as a rapper, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
all these mixtapes, right?
I think I went through
And
that phase. No worries.
now like we kind of like vilify those people, or not vilify, but
Mm-hmm.
we like poke fun of those people. They're still doing that,
Yeah.
and not everyone's gonna make it,
Right.
but they're still like kind of have a dream in a way, so they're doing something
Yeah.
that you're not doing. So now like when I came to Philadelphia from Indianapolis, which it was nice over there, but here's like a whole different like it's like so much levels of like communities, stuff going on. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna find a group for whatever you're into here, in a
I love
way. Like
that.
it's a lot of artistic people, a lot of
Yeah.
like business. Um, yeah, and so I
Well,
got me like,
and I love that you say that too, because a large part of that, is I would be interested to the type of person or who is facilitating these type of events. Because
yeah,
while you might have younger artists that are performing, whatever it is, this or that, who are the cats that are making these micro
yeah,
communities
yeah.
even possible, you know?
Hmm.
And that's what I really think a lot of it comes down to a certain extent, is that and I say this loosely. Obviously, I'm not Christian necessarily. God rest my mom's soul, she'd kill me for saying that. But you know um church used to have provide a lot of fulfillment at the community level, as far as that validation we were talking about, the Facebook filters, as far as the spirituality that's lacking in our communities, as far as like they're actually about to finish the Zion Hill Baptist Church. I don't know if you remember that church, but it's pretty much across from they renamed it Clint Dempsey Park. And Clint Dempsey, come fix your park, bro. If we name a park after you, come donate 50K. That's all I'm
They
saying.
only changed the sign or something.
Yeah, that's all they
Basically,
did. Change the sign. This guy just got inducted to the Hall of Fame and can't come to his hometown and fix his soccer field. It's hilarious. But no, I'm just giving him a hard time. Really great dude. But
yeah, that's what no.
it was formerly a black church that was built in the early 1900s, like 1910, 12 or so. And just that idea that it provided that safe space for African Americans in Nacogdoches, Texas, back in the 20s, amazes me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
How
religion.
things are not the same at all, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep going.
I was just gonna say, and of course, the negative connotation with religion is that it gets weaponized, and blah blah blah, this or that.
Yeah.
But it used to serve a higher purpose, especially at the community level, than Joel Osteen or whatever it is. So it's really refreshing to hear you are in a city to where especially the arts are really being pushed for people to express themselves, to come together for entertainment, and all that good stuff. So that's something that Nacogdoches definitely lacks. But that's also an epidemic throughout Texas, unless you're
Yeah, I think it's more of a. Still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't realize my
oh,
phone was about to die.
oh, for real?
Got
Yeah,
to
I
get my
must be good.
priorities straight one of these days.
No, that's fine. Um, yeah, man. Like, I think it's important. Like, the community, going back to
Hmm.
the community level, and how, um, like I was thinking earlier. Actually, I was feeling bad. Like, I was thinking how I don't even know my neighbors. Like we
I
live
have
like,
both your cell phone numbers.
and I was like, it's easier to, like in Texas, like
Yeah,
because here we're all crowded, and
yeah,
in a way you get like sick of people because you're all
yeah.
like bunched up together, and you
Hmm.
don't really have a lot of privacy. Um, and so yeah, like I was thinking, like, damn, like I haven't even talked to my neighbor. I seen him the other day, and I've been here for about 2 years. So it's like I was thinking about maybe I should just go knocking on every door, like, hey, I just want to get myself known.
Proud
Like
to
I
do it.
want
You forgot.
develop that community again. Like we have these apps like next door app, like Facebook neighbor, like where you can like communicate at a local level, but it's not the same. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of like events, like people that is always something going on, like, and there's like some like very successful, some that are just starting,
Right.
so like, but people do all kinds of events, and because it's that's what I like about Philly so far, that's
Hmm.
um there's a lot of business savvy people or artistic people that are like trying to make it work, like
Yeah,
so yeah, you see the hustle at play. It's like the jungle, like, like everyone's doing their thing out here.
I love that. Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it was a good talk. Like, I appreciate, like, we cover a lot of lot of good content, like for like,
Yeah,
or like topics that people really need to hear and talk more about.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to get together again and synthesize some of this that we talked about, um,
Right.
and
But I
try to
feel
come
like
up.
everything's intertwined. Like we kept going back to the same things. Like we kept
Yeah.
going back to the community level, to the
Yep.
economy. Economy has to work at a local level,
Yep.
and then eventually, like at a bigger level, at a macro level.
Absolutely.
So
And like we were saying, to a certain extent, it needs to be a little bit more naturally occurring, outside
yeah,
of legislation deregulating things. So I totally agree with that. But again, the idea is making sure that we're only qualifying ideas. No one knows any better than
right.
anyone else, to a certain
On
extent.
paper, like it's ideal, but it's so many other factors. Like the
Yeah,
human factor is just like unpredictable.
yeah, yeah. That's true too.
So
That's true too.
that's what I say. I don't know how much battery you got, but I was gonna say, like, that's what I say about government. Like the only problem with the government is that it has a human factor. Like the
Right.
all the seats, the Congress, like it gets
Any
corrupt.
institution, any institution. That's what I was saying about religion, right? It can be
Yeah,
weaponized. That's the sad thing about it is you take something good that actually works for people and then you use it against them. Whatever it is, whatever. If it's education, the education system's failing. CTE programs are becoming introduced. I'm pretty sure in Nacogdoches High School, literally the campus is literally like almost 40% CTE programs now. They've just
which is
put so
because
much money into expanding the high school and adding more like computer technology education or whatever it is, or
yeah,
so like or even like nursing. Like I think you can get a lobotomy license now. Hairdress or whatever, but something that where when people graduate high school, they can actually make at least like $15 an hour. Um, so that's interesting too. Out of necessity, that's kind of social Darwinism-y, I guess you'd say. But um, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what the next evolution of these institutions are going to be, because they're failing us miserably. And you are right; it is because of
yeah.
people, ultimately.
Well, but then we have to do we have to rely more on technology, because then we're like looking into all these
That that's
movies, all
Terminator.
these
That's
movies,
that's Terminator. We can't go
Terminator.
down that rabbit hole.
Exactly. Like like the only way that we can do it is by like substituting the human
Right?
error factor with artificial
Yeah.
intelligence or something like that, like a
Yeah.
programming, like I feel like now we can vote through an app, like it's so secure, like we
Mm-hmm.
can like different ways where like your fingerprint, our eyes, like
Mm-hmm.
this is like so identifies ours is us, and then we can vote. Like we can use
Right.
technology to our advantage, but then like another problem is the people behind that technology, the people in control of that technology, like the hackers,
Right.
like, but
There's always a back door. It doesn't matter. Whoever
yeah.
created something has put a back door in it, and they have access to it.
So you're talking about God.
What's that?
You can say that to the universe and everything,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. That's true. I
whoever
like that.
created it is a back door, like it's something behind it.
Yeah. That's true. I like that. I like that. But yeah, dude.
But
No,
yeah,
this
man.
was good stuff. We're definitely gonna have to do it again sooner than later.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go over the recording and see what we can put out there
Cool.
in
Sounds
the
good.
Instagram reels and things like that.
Yeah.
We can
Let me know.
definitely like narrow it down for the next conversation and focus more on like one topic or two.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, either way, too. I still think the questions idea too Like if you're going through this and you find those topics, send them to me, and that way I can come up with like more specific questions, or something like that. That way it could be more interview. But I
more,
like that. This was still
more
really
fact
good.
checking before we speak,
Say
bringing
again?
some stats and all that. Like,
Oh yeah.
Make sure we do our homework as well. Come we more prepared to talk about something.
Due diligence, absolutely. But like I said, man, so long as you're qualifying statements, I don't think that contrived analytics. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to leverage data that someone else put together. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it.
That's how I feel.
I get it. That's more like playing chess than anything. Like I'd rather talk about more of like universal truths or kind of qualifying ideas. But also too, I mean, keywords are keywords. Clickbait's clickbait. So if you need to talk about a particular keyword, let me know.
Right. That's what I want to talk about. Yay. Kanye.
Yeah.
No, not really. Like, it's just it's very interesting.
I'll think about him some more. I hadn't really. I honestly don't even know what's going on with him. I saw that his name was in the Google search, and I was just like, oh,
yeah,
Nick Shoes or something. I don't know. So I'll have to even look him up. But
no, it sounds good, man. Like we would definitely do this again. Thank you for doing this meeting. Like I know you have you have a lot of we got into it in like social media, like not into it, but we like exchange, and that's what I just you reminded me of like some of your ideas that you had. Like I think some of them were political, and sometimes it was about the economy, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, thank you for doing this. And
thanks. See, this is awesome.
And do it again. Finish your cerveza. Enjoy the rest of your night. Tomorrow's Friday. You work tomorrow?
Oh yeah, pretty much work every day. So
yeah,
working on that too.
Work out, man.
Yeah, working on not working, and then working to work out, and then working out so that I can keep working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as long as you do what you love. You know what's a good book to read?
What's that?
I'll Stop Talking When I Die, something like that. It's by, I got the audio book.
I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.
Sleep When I'm Dead. That's what it is. You read it?
No. It's just I think that might be Latin. I don't remember. But it's like an old like war chant sort of kind of.
It's by basically the agent, the talent agent of Elvis Presley and a lot of these actors, like how he lived his life, how he became so successful just by improvising on the spot and not being afraid, just going with the flow and being persistent. Like he wanted to be the agent of the biggest star, and it was Elvis Presley at one point. And When I Stop Talking, You'll Know I'm Dead. That's what it's called, by Jerry Weintraub.
All right.
Really good. Like it gets you into the inside of, because I think he narrates the book as well. So if you want to listen to an audiobook, like he already passed away, but he's like I think he's behind like George Clooney, like all this. He's a talent agent that like made all these people successful.
That sounds interesting, and that reminds me. And I'll leave you on this note too, because it's kind of taking things full circle. Kind of mentioned my mother earlier, but she always used to say, she always used to tell me like one of the most important skills that you can ever develop is to take your immediate environment into consideration and make sure that you're optimizing it for everyone around you.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's definitely something that's always stuck with me. Especially I have ADHD too, so it's a little easier to a certain extent. But that's what it's all about, is just really being able to take in, what you see, leverage what skills you have, and just make sure that everyone around you is either becoming happier or becoming better.
Right. Like that, definitely. That's a good way to end it, man.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Well,
all right, man. Buenos noches y vaya con Dios, mi amigo.
Vaya con Dios as well. Like I'm going back to down to earth.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
All right. See you.
All right, peace.